BlackmoreConnects?
So ClearLight Partners is a private equity fund. We've been around for approaching 20 years now at this point. We're pretty unique in that we actually grew out of an operating company. And so our roots are in operations. And when that company sold, it generated sufficient proceeds to start a private equity fund with. And so if you think about, what is the DNA of our firm, and you look across the leadership of ClearLight, it's by and large former operators. Our founder was a CEO. We have an operating partner who is a serial entrepreneur. We have a guy who recently joined us within the past 18 months who was an operator for 10 years before he found his way to private equity. And even the CFO at the fund level of ClearLight was an entrepreneur at one point. And so that is very much the ethos of our firm. And when I think about our preferred way to invest, it's really behind kind of proven, been there, done that executives. So we get the model. We have a lot of empathy in our system for what it means to execute strategy. And we've executed 3 successful buy and build platforms that started with an executive and started with a thesis. So we get it and we've done it. And so I think we'd be a wonderful partner for the right executives that align well with our industries.
So why are you utilizing BlackmoreConnects versus some executive just calling you up for a job or a resume? What is this BlackmoreConnects going to do for me as an executive? And I have to pay to meet you?
Strategically speaking, we have really started to emphasize building out our network of talented executives. It's become an immensely important part of getting deals done in terms of finding a river guide to ask the right questions, to kill things quickly that should be killed quickly, and to build conviction around things that need to be aggressively pursued at valuations that this market is supporting. Why go through BlackmoreConnects? You guys have just been early movers in matching private equity with management talent. And not just that, other people can do that. You guys do an amazing job of getting people to focus their energies and their thoughts on a given thesis.
How is a thesis important to a private equity firm in wanting to spend the time? Because you guys have more money than time, you could say.
I think it comes down to kind of benefiting from someone else's passion and experience about an industry. Because the U.S. economy is large and we can't be experts on everything. We have sectors that we know and we've done well in, but typically those are more broadly focused. And so if you have an executive that's been there and done that within a given industry and wants to get back in a very entrepreneurial fashion, there's a lot of value there. And so we tend to get very excited when we see someone else who's very excited about an industry we think has good prospects for getting a deal done.
Mm-hmm. So the Blackmore process is the thesis. What are some of the other benefits that you've been able to glean of an executive going through BlackmoreConnects versus trying to go directly to a PE firm and just call up?
Yeah, private equity funds, anybody really is getting inundated with emails these days. Someone told me once that the problem is cheap to send. And so parsing through all that email traffic can be challenging. And so I put at a premium getting together and meeting with people in person. It's simple as that. And so it gets everybody in the same room at the same time in structured meetings to determine, is there going to be a path for us to work together?
You've been here multiple times. What do you notice? Is there anything consistently about the type of curation the BlackmoreConnects people do? Does just anyone get in the doors? Or?
It tends to be, from my experience, people that have either been CEOs previously, divisional presidents, had real P&L responsibility, and that's what we are filtering for as well. If we're going to back somebody, we want to see someone who's at that level of responsibility and been sort of validated, in their prior, career pursuits.
So they do a lot of that filtering. If you were to try to do that kind of filtering, at the level you're seeing at these conferences consistently, what kind of machinery, cost, level of effort would that take for a firm like yours?
You would certainly have to have meaningful in-house resources, and sometimes that's part of the strategy, sometimes it's not. And so to have someone like a BlackmoreConnects do a lot of that upfront work is immensely valuable. So we're in Southern California, we get on a plane, come to Chicago a couple times a year, and so people tend to vote with their time. And we're voting with our time and our presence and participation in the event. And frankly, the panel discussions, I think, are wonderful kind of longer form formats for executives to get to know us. And let them determine, do they like us, and do they think they might want to work with us?
Yeah, versus just the 15 minutes. I'm really glad you it's kind of the warm up, and you just can't get that done just in the 15 minutes back and forth. So it allows your personality to come up across there.
Right.
So just imagine, I'm heading out to Philly for ACG and then Chicago. And I'm going to be meeting with a lot of PE firms, and they're going to be going, well, why, what's the benefits of BlackmoreConnects? So if you were to begin to net out all the different benefits here, I'm a PE guy, what would you tell me? Justify it.
It's a lot of the things I think we've talked about. I mean, it's in-person meetings with screened, vetted executives with a thesis. I mean, that's just immensely valuable to have that amount of focus kind of presented to you in a well-structured format. It's not something that you can get just by waiting for an email to find you. And so that's how I would simplify it.
But I just want deals.
Well, the executive is almost as important, if not as important, as the deal in this market. And so for someone to say, I just want the deal and I don't care about the executive, I think is a little short-sighted, frankly.
In what way?
I guess for them to say the executive wasn't important would imply that they think they know everything about an industry. And to not admit at times when you need the help or you need new perspectives, I think is a recipe for doing something wrong.
So that's another benefit of this conference is you're able to get new. Do you have any examples of new perspectives that you've been able to glean here?
Well, sure. It's not just perspectives from the executives. It's also perspectives from the private equity participants because you have leaders of various private equity firms participating in the panel discussions and you get to see how they present themselves and where have they made mistakes and learn from that and then bring that back home to our firms, which has been really helpful.
But isn't that what happens at ACG or AMAA?
Maybe, but this setting feels more intimate to me.
Right.
ACG is hundreds of people, and for whatever reason, not to knock ACG, I just feel like this is a more intimate experience where you really get to know people, and when you go back home to follow up, you feel like, gosh, I really want to spend more time with that person. So that's a benefit as well.
Great.